That's right. We're talking about it. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, Specialized Knowledge. Why not all knowledge is created equally, and where are you getting your knowledge from? Because some knowledge is not worth having. And I'm going to teach you how you can get ahead faster, get farther faster in your life. And as a one percenter who is seeking your next level growth and accomplishment, success, whatever that means to you, how do you get there sooner? How do you get there quicker and get that edge over everybody else? We're going to talk about it here today on the 1% Live Show. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. If you're watching us live on Facebook, type in hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. And if you're new to the show, oh my goodness, welcome in and let us know that you are new. Always like to welcome our new listeners here on the 1% Life. So, rock stars, for those of you who don't know me, let me just introduce myself real quickly. My name is Joanie Dillon, peak performance coach and trainer. We talk about how you can get ahead in life and create your version of your 1% life. So, today we're talking about it. If you haven't read this book, I don't know where you've been, but I highly recommend that you do. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Yes, it's a bit dated, and meaning language can get a little colorful at times. And with that being said, the content in this book, if you read this book like a book, you're missing the point. This is like, what would you call this? I would look at this as for lack of a better word, um, a career Bible, a life Bible, perhaps is a better word, something that you go back to and reference. A reference manual may even be better. But, a lot of people just kind of, yeah, look at it. But there's so much information inside this little book here. We're going to talk about one specific piece of it today and how that can really help you get ahead in your life in whatever industry that you're in, and crunch time, because that's what, if we look at this continuum of life, like you can take 30 years, 40 years, 50 years to get to what you may call success, or you can do it in a small fraction of the time. So I don't know about you, Rockstar, but for me, time is of the essence, and I don't have a lot of it. So I want to make sure that I'm maximizing time. If you agree with what I'm saying, then definitely you're going to like the topic for today. So Napoleon Hill in the book Think and Grow Rich talks about something called specialized knowledge. And he compares it to general knowledge. And he says that, general knowledge is not the thing that's going to get you. There's a lot of it out there. Most of it is general knowledge. And it's not what is going to get you to accumulate wealth in your life. See, he says this: there are two kinds of knowledge. One is general, the other is specialized. General knowledge, no matter how great in quantity or variety it may be, is of little use in the accumulation of money. The faculties of the great universities possess, in the aggregate, so colleges, universities possess practically every form of general knowledge known to civilization. Most of the professors have but little money. They specialize on teaching knowledge, but they do not specialize on, here's the key, the organization or the use of knowledge. See, it's what we do with that knowledge. They say knowledge is power. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. If you are not using the knowledge that you're acquiring in a way that you are organizing it, you are directing it towards an end, a specific end desired outcome, then you're not using knowledge in a way that's going to actually accumulate wealth for you, right? It's one thing to learn. A lot of people go out and take course after course after course after course, and they learn all kinds of certification after certification. Let me learn more. But what are you doing with this information? See, are you a student for life, or are you a student who is going to take information, aggregate it, organize it, assimilate it, and then direct it towards a desired outcome? And I'm going to talk to you about a concept that Napoleon Hill refers to as, he calls it mastermind. oh gosh, what is it? The Mastermind. Yes, let's just call it Mastermind. It's he. There's another word after it that he uses, but the word Mastermind, Mastermind, Mastermind. In the way that Napoleon Hill talks about it is that when you bring two minds together, right? So me, you, or you, someone else, and you add a third mind, a third person, or excuse me, let me rephrase that. I totally butchered that one. Whoop, whoop, strike from the record. When you bring two minds together, what happens is a third mind is formed. Okay, this is really powerful. So you have the individuals of the mastermind, and then you have an additional mind that is formed that comes out of it. And why is this on my mind today? So this morning, I got to participate actually most of the day today in my own mastermind. So I'm a part of several masterminds. I always join masterminds, and I join very specific masterminds because there are a lot of them out there and they're not all good, right? Everybody can put together a mastermind, but are you getting what you want out of the mastermind? That's the question, right? So in the mastermind that I'm a part of, this one in particular, we were supposed to meet in Utah at a beautiful mansion. It's like a 30,000 square foot home today, tomorrow, the next day. And of course, we're not. We're stuck here in quarantine. So what do? We say, okay, well, let's just get together and let's have a mastermind via the intrawebs, right? Via Zoom chat. And so, or a Zoom meeting. And so here's how a traditional mastermind is formed. A traditional mastermind is where there's a specific person, one person at a time, who kind of has, I like to call it the hot seat. We're now calling them transformation seats or transformation chairs because that's where transformation happens, right? And what happens in particular is the person talks about, okay, so here's what's going on in my world, and here's what I think I need help with. Now, the fascinating thing about a mastermind is that you may go into your hot seat or your opportunity to speak with a specific intention, and the reality is that can get totally rocked because of what the observers or the mastermind members are hearing from you, right? So we think we have an intention, but those who are in our presence and who have the accumulation of specialized knowledge because of all of the years of experience and specialized knowledge that they have acquired and paid to acquire and gained through trial and error and experience, etc. When they're sitting in front of you and they're observing you, what happens is you're like, you can't see what's in your blind spot. See, I couldn't see today what was in my blind spot. And it was very fascinating to me. This happens every time I go to these masterminds because I'm so in the moment of like expressing what's going on. And okay, so here's where we're at. This is what's happening. And leave it to, my amazing mastermind members. And one in particular, Scott, says, so Joanie, I know that you are a lot like me and you study language. And when you study language, you listen to how people use language and what their intentions are behind it. And you also look underneath all the layers. Okay. He said it a little differently. And he said, so I was observing language. And what I heard from you was I heard the use of a lot of universal language. Okay. And so, what universal language means is that you're speaking in very generalized, broad statements, right? Like everybody or all the time or nobody, right? Those are generalized, broad statements that are just simply not true. It's just not ever true. Like, is there ever a case where everybody or nobody or all the time, right? All the time, you know? And so when I was speaking about this, you know, challenge that I was experiencing, what Scott observed in my language was a use of universals very like frequently. He said, like, you use more universals than I've ever heard somebody use in a short period of time. I was like, wow, really? And here's what's so fascinating. I didn't hear any of it. I didn't hear any of it because you can't see what's in your blind spot, which is why when you are in the proximity of people who can see that thing, hear that thing, observe that thing, and even articulate what you're saying that you can't quite say, but they're helping you peel back the layers of the onion to get down into the core, right? The deep. I mean, there's not really a core of an onion. There kind of is. Yes, there is. But that then what happens is it's like you start understanding why your behavior is a certain way. Why it's because your beliefs are a certain way, right? And your beliefs come from your language and your thoughts. So when we can back up um, the actions, the words, the beliefs, the things that are showing up in our life through understanding where it's coming from by getting an interest level of introspection from people who are observing you in a mastermind, what happens is like profound change occurs, really. Okay, that was like a really convoluted way of saying profound change occurs. And and so that was just like the first of many things that came out in my mastermind session in my hot seat. And it got me to realize that, if I were to just chunk it down and not make it so I had to do all of these things or for everybody, and I could just realize that, oh, that's actually not quite true. It's really like that much, right? And it then becomes more achievable in your mind, right? So that wasn't the point of what came out in the hot seat, for example, but it was the point that when we actually seek knowledge that's not just general knowledge, but specialized knowledge, what happens is you get people like Scott who have had a 40-plus year career forming the Tony Robbins, the Lisa Nichols, the Jack Canfields, perhaps. I don't know if Jack's one of them, but I just probably not. I mean, knowing Scott, probably, and all of these big names, and he's got the Les Browns and all these people in his, do we say Rolodex anymore? Cell phone, right? And you get someone like that who gets a few minutes with you, and all of a sudden your entire world changes. And then you get people who, like Elliot Rowe, my hypnotherapist, who helps people become the top number one in the world and number 10, whatever that is that they do, whether they're MMA fighter or a World Series poker champion after they work with him, right? So then you get someone like him helping you along with everybody else who is hearing you speak. And when everybody's in agreement that, whoa, you don't see this, but you need to hear this right now, then what happens is when you get players like that in a space, right? People who are playing at the highest of high levels. And, we got one guy in there who's made $50 million in his businesses in the last, 10 years or so. Like, pretty awesome, amazing, incredible human being, and runs like a top podcast in the world. And, this was a small group. I think there was like 10 or 11 of us in the mastermind. So when you get players like this together, the level of thinking just goes out the roof, right? Like I even am hearing myself in a different light. Like, gosh, did I say that? Oh, am I really? Dang, it allows you to look at your level of playing and say, okay, how do I level up? Right? So if I'm playing here and everybody else is playing up here, yikes, man, I got to step that game up. And you start leveling up simply by being in the proximity of world game changers. Okay. And, it's a good room to be in. Let's just say that it's a good room to be in when you have these type of people who everyone in the world wants to pay to be in their proximity or in their vicinity, right? So why are we talking about specialized knowledge? Well, it's my opinion and my belief, and you can choose to believe this or not, but right now more than ever, as we enter this new era that we have entered into, we have already entered into it, this new era, there's a need for differentiation. There's a need for speed, and there's a need for specialized knowledge that you actually then take and put into action. Okay. So again, specialized knowledge means you take the knowledge and then you go out and you put it into action, and you go out and you get a competitive edge over everybody else. And see, here's the thing. I use those words with caution, competitive edge, right? Like I don't personally like to compete with anybody else but one person, me. Okay. Now, in the past, did I used to compete? Heck yeah. I'm like, I'm coming in number one. I don't care about you or you or you or you. Right. Like back when I used to sell timeshare, I'm like, I am everybody. That was always my intention. Okay. I've grown. I've grown. And there was nothing wrong with that. Um, when you can compete with yourself, you always have another level to play at. There's always another level to play at, to ascend to, right? How do I just be better than myself today than I was yesterday? How do I now be better than I was yesterday, today? And who do I need to be today in order to play um, at my all-time best, at my best, right? In total, I like to call it in total excellence. Who do I need to be? What behaviors must show up within me for me to be playing at a level of excellence? And so I say the words competitive edge very with caution, and also knowing that, man, right now there is a cutthroat, fierce environment out there. There are, what did I just hear? The latest numbers? Gosh, I don't even know if they're 7.7 million people unemployed. Like, what? Crazy numbers. Okay. Um, it's a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on. Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on out there in the world. And if we don't differentiate ourselves, if you don't stand out from the masses, then what's going to happen is that oh, no. 7.7 hospitality and leisure workers. Okay, no, excuse me. Here's the number: 7.7 hospitality leisure workers. I was way under 6.8 million employees in education, health, retail, professional services. There were a total of 33 million Americans, stuck on that number because it was my industry, who had lost their job due to the recent pandemic. 33 million. I was like, that seemed really small. Million Americans who had lost their job due to the recent pandemic. Okay. Current pandemic, let's just call it right now. So that's pretty crazy. And I would call that pretty cutthroat and fierce, right? If you are in an industry where budgets are getting slashed and people, meaning employers, are forced to look at literally the cream that rises to the top. Skills matter. Application of those skills matter, right? Specialized knowledge, applying that specialized knowledge to create an outcome. And, who does it better? Who does it better? So, this is why we're talking about it, because right now you've got to dial in. You've got to get out of your comfort zone and just go. YouTube, sure, it has stuff. Sure, there's great stuff out there. But when you pay to be in proximity of people who are here, when you are here, it elevates your game. It elevates your game. It elevates your mind. It elevates your being, who you are. You are forced to play at a higher level. I always put myself in rooms where I feel like I am the dumbest person in the room. You've heard me say this before if you've been listening to me for any length of time, because that is the room that means growth for me. That is the room that I know I will walk out a different human being than I walked in. And so I'll pay for those rooms. I'll pay $25,000, $30,000 or more just to be in those rooms. And yeah, it's not comfortable. And yeah, it's a lot. But what costs more? Paying to be in those rooms, or the cost of not having the specialized knowledge, of not playing at the level that you're meant to play at, the cost of not achieving your goals, the cost of not achieving your dreams, the cost of not impacting the people in the world that you're meant to impact, the cost of living a small, unfulfilled life. What costs more? For me, that costs way more. So I will pay for the specialized knowledge. I will pay for the 40 years of expertise and experience. Just hearing Scott talk about leadership versus being a manager, and how entrepreneurs look at the two things and they confuse them. See, one of my business partners was in the room and was talking about, he's in the mastermind as well, was talking about how, man, I don't want to grow my business to 50 employees. That sounds crazy to me. I don't want that. And Elliot said, well, let me ask you this. Would you want the money if all of them were selling for you? If you had 500 people in a room and they were all selling for you, would you want that? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you just don't want to manage them. To see, there's a difference between management and leadership. You find the leaders to manage and you lead. And that was priceless to me, to hear it in the context that it was delivered in. And it's enough to shift beliefs entirely, to up level my game in my business just by hearing something from another third party hot seat. Does that make sense? So that was just a couple little snippets of the gems that were received today. So many, so many. Oh my God. Here's another one I want to give you from my hot seat. And that was, I get excited, if you don't know me already, when I talk about things and I'm like, this is going on and that's going on and this person's and I are working together and this is happening and all this stuff. And again, when everybody in the room, and it's a good room, says, whoa, whoa, whoa. And you're like, what did I say? I have no idea what I just said. Because they saw the thing that you didn't see, they heard the thing that you didn't hear, and they're like, whoa, ratchet that back and down, like ratchet it down, because that is not what you need to be doing right now at all. No, 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 no. And the thing that came out for me, because there are constant projects being thrown my way. There are and maybe for you too. There are constant like people like, hey, I want you to work on this for me. Will you partner with me here? Will you do this with me? How about this podcast, this affiliate marketing program, launch this program, this course with me, this event, this, project, whatever, so much, right? And I also see this in a lot of my clients who are really talented. And maybe this is you, to where you are so talented and your personality is so vibrant that people just want to work with you because they know that you will bring value to whatever it is that you do. And if that's the case, what I'm learning really quickly, because now I've recognized a pattern of, it's good to feel wanted. It's good to feel wanted. And what I'm, looking at is, do I need to feel wanted? Is there an underlying need to feel wanted, to have to say yes to these things? What would happen if I just start saying no? And, what came up was, Joanie, you're going to have hundreds of thousands of these opportunities over the next 10 to 20 years as you grow into this, this world changer that you're becoming. People want you to work and help them. And if you don't learn to say no, you're going to be creating other people's life plans than fulfilling upon your own. And it was really powerful because one of the persons in the room said, I did just that. I'm speaking from experience. Spent all these years helping other people develop their brands, putting them on the map. And while I'm on the map, I could be a lot more well known if I had just focused on doing all of that for me. So I hope you took value from this, and that you start looking at the knowledge that you're acquiring and asking yourself, where can I, as Napoleon Hill calls it, pay for specialized knowledge? Like, you should be paying for specialized knowledge. And because it pays to know how to purchase knowledge, is what he says, how to purchase knowledge, because not all knowledge is created equally. And I'm a firm believer of that. When you're in the right room and you figure out how to leverage resources to be in that room. See, it's only and not affordable if you haven't yet figured out how to make it affordable for you. And it's only costly if you haven't yet realized how costly it is to not. So I want to leave you with that. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The 1% Life. If you have, please screen capture this, tag me in it on Instagram at Joanie Dillon, or here on Facebook, any of the other platforms that you listen to. Leave us a review. Your reviews matter. It's how we grow. It's how we get out to more people. And please, please, please tag some friends in this. Share it out however you can. And let's get more people creating their 1% life. Until next time, rock stars, get out there and change some lives today and be truly unstoppable. Peace.